All right, so welcome to an after-hours discussion between myself and Kay. Now, Kay, I'm gonna re-intro what we were discussing, and then we'll continue where we left off because we decided we needed to record this.
Right.
So my question is this: is what could physically make a computer heavier, data-wise? And I posed the question: say hypothetically, you have a server farm of like a PC setup, and I'm gonna get like the technicalities of this wrong, but the idea will be there. Okay. So the idea is, say hypothetically, you've got a server farm type build that has is completely void of data, but it has the capacity for, say, hypothetically, 1,000 terabytes of data. And then from an outside source, you transfer in 1,000 terabytes of data. And if your farm weighs 100 pounds and you transfer in that 1,000 terabytes of data onto the server farm setup, how large of a scale would that have to be, or would that build have to be, to register an increase of weight into the machine? I argue that it is technically possible, but in order to affect a noticeable, not like say like a pick it up and feel it kind of weight, but even if you had it sitting on a scale that could measure like micrograms, how large of an operation would you have to be if it is A, physically possible, and B, if we decide that it is possible, how large do you think that operation would have to be in order for that weight change to register, even at a minute level? So the first thing is do you think it's possible?
I don't think so.
You don't think it's possible. Why? Because I feel like you've got some sort of an explanation there as to why it's possible or not possible.
Not possible.
Yeah.
I would say it's not possible due to the fact that the hard drive already weighs what it does.
Yeah.
And I feel like
but it's empty. So, we'll get into my side of it in a minute, but go with yours.
it doesn't actually put a physical thing. It's just like electronically there, if that makes sense.
It does. Like, I can definitely see your side, for sure. For sure. So you're arguing that the physical weight is already there. It's just how it is defined is what you would be changing.
Right.
So you're saying, and this is all going to be hypotheticals, but you're saying if a terabyte weighs 5 pounds, all you are changing is the what it says, or like the how best to describe this. Like if it weighs 5 pounds, you're just changing the picture, not the physicality of it.
Right. Think about like a credit card.
Right.
Or your debit card.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
You have $100 in your account, or you have $0 in your account. Yeah. Does the card weigh more or less?
But the see, I see where you're going with this. I would say that the credit card example is not an accurate one, because the capacity of your bank account is not being stored on the credit card. It is just access to the credit card or the debit card. So whereas my example is that the physical or the technical data is actually being stored on that server farm. It's not access to it. It is actually being stored there. To the tune of, this is the way I look at it, right? You got a storage container. The storage container is a 40-foot container, but it's empty. It has the capacity to store, 2 tons worth of stuff, right? I know it's obviously going to be more than that, but for the sake of the argument, it's got the capacity to store 2 tons worth of stuff.
Right.
The container weighs 1,000 pounds. You add in, boxes full of clothing and, a washer and dryer or something, you bump that weight up 500 pounds by doing that. So that storage container now weighs 1,500 pounds instead of 1,000 pounds. that's my logical, or my, I don't want to say logical because I may get flamed in the comments for this, but that is my rationale as to why I'm saying how large would that server farm potentially have to be, and how much data would you have to transfer to even register a minute, whatever even the smallest possible unit of weight measurement is. How grand of a scale would that have to be for you to tilt that scale, even one minute unit of measurement? I argue that it's possible. You know, I love that we're having this debate because hopefully it'll show that gamers do have intelligence, or in my case, possibly lack thereof. But we have intellectual debates. Because I argue, based on my example of the storage container, that it is possible, in theory, to change the weight of a computer by adding data to it that wasn't already there. Based on that. Now, we should probably have precursored this from the beginning with that neither one of us are like, I don't want to say like, because we are computer savvy to a certain degree, but like,
we're computer savvy on a hardware side.
Well, but this is a hardware-esque debate, or is this a theoretical, like computer, like physicsy type debate?
I don't even know what category to put it under because.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's up to like the comments to let us know what category to put it in.
Right. But now I have as I've been thinking of it, because you're adding more storage.
Right. Well, you're not adding more storage, but you're adding more data to the storage.
More data to the storage.
Yeah.
Now, because whatever the bar or however the computer receives the information back.
Right.
Also, what kind of a storage driver are we talking here?
What do you mean?
Because there's several different variations of a storage device. So like you can go back to like a floppy drive.
Yeah, you got like floppy drives, solid state drives, stuff like that.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would argue that the most common commercially used is probably a solid state drive.
Right. Now, how does it access the storage?
This would be like, I guess, if we're really going to go down this rabbit hole and have this more informed discussion, we would have to understand the technicalities behind, you know, like solid state drives and stuff like that.
Right. Because I could argue,
right,
depending on what kind of a drive you're using, it might actually lose weight due to the fact that it's wearing itself out.
Yeah, but by arguing that, you could be in a sense ceding to my side of the argument in that it is possible based on data to change the weight, right?
Weight less or more.
I think as we've been discussing this, I've come up with an interesting way to, I think, argue actually your point, right? So hear me out on this one. You know, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or you yourself, but the majority of data is ultimately a combination of ones and zeros.
Yeah.
If I understand the basics of it right.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Right. So the way you could argue your side of it is that if the terabyte drive weighs 5 pounds,
yep,
and it's filled currently with a blank slate of all zeros, in order to facilitate your data, you're just changing some of those zeros to ones and ones to zeros, and that you're not actually physically adding anything to it. You are just from an outside source manipulating the zeros and ones combinations on your internal source. That's a way that you could absolutely, I feel like, argue your point, if that makes sense. You know, it's just, it's like you've that's, I think, the most logical way for people like us that don't understand computer. I want to say computer physics. I feel like that's the right thing to say, but we could be way off.
We're probably way off.
We are probably way off, and there's probably going to be somebody that absolutely destroys us in the comments. But that's our debate. That's our thoughts on the matter. I argue that you can, in theory, down to like the minutest unit of weight measurement, change the weight of a computer based on the data stored on it. Kay says it's impossible. We want to know what y'all think in the comments. Let us know down below. Continue this debate. Tell us either we're right, we're wrong, or we should simply stick to playing video games. Guys, it's been a fantastic chat. We look forward to reading everything, and we'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace, guys.